Don't move, don't move. Yeah. All right.
You've met Amy, right?
I sure have.
Do you mind?
All right.
Do you mind if she sits in with us?
I don't know if it would make a difference. Or,
Well, it's up to you. Okay. I thought we can go this way.
Whichever way. I mean.
Thanks for coming in today.
No problem.
How are you doing?
A little under the weather. I had to go in for a tooth, and then I got antibiotics, ibuprofen, and Vicodin. And the Vicodin makes me a little groggy. So.
Do you have an injection?
I have an abscessed, fractured tooth, and that spread to my upper respiratory. So I had upper respiratory infection, abscessed tooth, and then sepsis. So I have to continually bring myself back up to speed.
Are you seeing a primary care physician?
No.
No. But you are seeing a dentist?
Yeah, I have to go, after this, I got a list of clinics, and I have to go in for an emergency tooth pull. And then after that, I'll be pretty good, but the pain is pretty intense right now. And I have a fever, so.
Did you already see it? You already saw the dentist?
I went to Alta Bates, and they told me what to do, and they gave me a list of clinics, and so.
So you haven't?
No, not yet.
Who prescribed the Vicodin?
Alta Bates, the doctor there. So.
Okay. Are you going to go to Highland, do you think?
No.
No.
No. I have a list of clinics. I think I'm probably going to go to Lifelong. So I have to go to Lifelong. I have to apply to become a member. Then when I become a member, which will probably take a couple weeks or so, then I'll just pull it. And then whenever I have a problem, we'll be able to fix the rest of the stuff that's wrong right now. Because I have a lot of teeth that have rot at the gum line and things like that. So. But,
and if I recall, they charge on a sliding scale.
mm-hmm.
So,
I think all I would have to do is bring the bill to you, and then
yeah.
you could request a check from me, and then I would take care of it. Because there's no dental coverage through Medicare in California for people above, I think it's 18 or 21. So that makes it kind of ridiculous.
So right now you're on the antibiotics and you have Vicodin, and you're gonna go to Lifelong.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen. You're gonna follow up with Lifelong. Did you say today or tomorrow?
I have to go in today and apply.
Good.
So I have to see what's up.
Okay.
And if it's an emergency and then we'll be able to check out today, that'd be great. But if not, I'll go to them, apply, and if it gets worse, I'm going to go to one of the emergency clinics and have it taken out because it's making me feel really sick.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to eat food. Fever is a problem. That's about it.
Yeah, and the only emergency place that I know of that will do it for free is Highland.
The free clinic up here on, I think, Durant or something, they'll do it.
Suitcase clinic?
Yeah.
Yeah, except that they're only open during certain hours, and it's hard to, it's worth a try.
Yeah. That is an option. It's not like it's just going to sit for any longer. So.
Okay. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time because you're not feeling well and I want you to get this taken care of. But, so basically I have to do a care plan for you because you are not seeing any of our psychiatrists. And any client that's not seeing a psychiatrist is required to have a care plan now.
Okay, so what's the care plan entail, basically?
I'll let you look at it. We don't have to fill out the first 2 pages unless you want to. So, but you can look at them.
Okay. So I basically just have to fill out this questionnaire.
We don't. I usually, unless you want to.
I definitely would if it helps out the process, so it makes it easier for you guys.
What's most important is pages 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay, I'll look at those.
Probably have you fill out.
So when would you need me to fill this out by?
Well, we would do it together right now. I was thinking.
Could I fill it out and bring it back tomorrow?
Well, actually, it's something that that's the part that I would fill out. The first 2 pages you would fill out, but the pages. Can I see pages 3, and I'm supposed to fill out 6 pages.
Okay.
And I mean, if you'd like to fill these pages out, I mean that's like. It's supplementary.
Okay.
But basically, to get the care plan done, I need to complete these.
Okay.
And so, is it okay if we just proceed now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, the first question is, what do you hope to achieve with support from working this year?
The thing I was trying to get before, the reason I came into the program at MLK House was I was supposed to be getting a shelter plus care certificate. The original plan, the thing that they told me was that I would go in for 1 year, I would get a certificate, and then with the certificate, once I got the certificate, I would get a voucher for a shelter plus care portable housing. Yeah. So that never happened. So after that first year, that didn't happen. I went from being, they told me originally it was transitional housing. So I was going to go there, get the certificate, and the housing was temporary and transitional. And so I went from the transitional housing, from what they told me, is that I would then get my certificate. And then at that point, I would be able to take my certificate and find on a list of Shelter Plus Care properties, my own Shelter Plus Care property. That was part 1. And then after that, to get that, they told me I had to go onto the sub-payee program. So I talked with Tim Kirshenstein. I think he was one of the, I think he was a trainee or an intern. And he told me I had to do that. And then I talked with Marilyn Senf, and Marilyn Senf told me I had to do that. And, you know, I agreed to that. And then after that, there were problems. And then I applied to be my own payee. And I went through that, and I went through 3 different mental health administrators. I went through, I think, Josepha Molina. I never met her. I think it was Joe Ruffin or Joe Russin. And I talked with her about it, and she agreed to it. And I talked with Carol Patterson. I petitioned for it, and I entered a grievance in with her. And then nothing happened again, even though they agreed to it. And then I talked with Karen Tribble. That was the 3rd one. And she talked with me, and she said it was all right. And with Dr. Jones and Yvette signed off on it, that it was all right.
Yeah, and they did not sign off on it.
They did. They actually verbally agreed to it. And they told me all I would have to do was come up with a budget and then stick to the house rules and do everything that I was supposed to do. And then I would do it. And then they didn't do it. And
what didn't they do?
They didn't sign over for me being my own pay.
Oh, okay, so they didn't sign off on it, okay.
No, but they actually said they would.
But they said they would, I see.
Yeah, and then they never came through with the paperwork.
Okay.
So that was a problem. So I then complained, I think, to Social Security. Social Security kind of ignored what I said, and the Social Security went in to this weird loop, and I said, well, for me to become my own payee, I had to have my psychiatrist write a letter. And so then I talked to Dr. Johnson about that. He said he would. And then from there, he said that he wouldn't be allowed to do it unless his case was his team leader, which was Yvette. Mm-hmm. And Yvette said all right at first, and then she went back on it. And then it went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I complained to the office of the general inspector. They got back to me about it. And then I talked with, they told me to complain to the Alameda County Health and Human Services Consumer Complaint Department, I think. Mm-hmm. I talked to them. They told me then that Berkeley Mental Health doesn't answer to them directly. I looked on the website. The website says that if you have a grievance here with Berkeley Mental Health, complain to them, and then they will talk back to Berkeley Mental Health and Berkeley Mental Health Administrator. And so they told me officially that Berkeley doesn't answer to them. So that kind of discouraged me again. And so I didn't know who to go to or what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And so I have, I left it alone since then. I haven't really done anything about it. But that's still my original.
So you'd like to get a portable housing certificate,
I will,
shelter plus care,
and
become your own payee?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and if I can't get a portable shelter plus care certificate, become my own payee would allow me to just move someplace better. And like, let's say if I moved to New Mexico or Las Vegas or Texas or someplace like that, I could move there and then I could work. And working would help me just to transition off of Social Security, and that would be completely fine, especially in Texas, because in Texas there aren't a lot of Teamsters or unions. Mm-hmm. So if you work there, you don't have to pay dues to a union or deal with Teamsters. So it's just you're working, you work your job, you pay your taxes, you do everything you do. You don't have to be a criminal to survive at work. It's very easy. But Las Vegas, it's also very easy to get a job because rent there is pretty cheap. You can get a one-bedroom apartment for about $500. Utilities are cheap. Everything else is cheap. There aren't a lot of drugs in Las Vegas either. Not a lot of crime. The cool thing about Las Vegas is that marijuana is an offense. It's like possession, I think, gets you 25 years, and sale gets you life. Mm-hmm. So there's not a whole lot of that. There are not a whole lot of people like that out there, and it's pretty tolerant. And you can work one or two jobs, at the casinos or on the base, or just for a person, Walgreens, McDonald's, whatever, and you can make it. And it's very easy to do that.
So you're thinking you'd like to move to Las Vegas or
out of state?
Just somewhere out of state.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take on that you hope to obtain a portable housing certificate. Mm-hmm. And
if that's not possible, if like say the housing, the shelter plus care certificate is not possible, and it's not that you guys aren't doing your job, it's just that it's not there. I mean, just knowledge of that would make it a lot easier for me, because then I could go around and look for, like, say, a separate room, or a sublease or something like that. And that's a lot better than, like, say, living in a house where 6 or 7 different people are smoking marijuana or crack, or, they're doing things that kind of make life counterproductive and very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Because that's becoming a problem right now, is I don't feel comfortable in the house because I know the new girl, she smokes marijuana, I think a lot. I know Sarah did. I know that I think Blaine does, and I don't know if anyone else does it. I know Ron kind of drinks, and he comes home drunk, makes a lot of noise, and I think he also smokes marijuana, maybe crack. And I know Daphne and Shirley also. And so it's like when they all go off and do that at the same time, it becomes a very constrictive and uncomfortable environment. And I called the police one time, and they told me that they won't actually deal with that. And there's an ordinance, well, they will not make an arrest for a marijuana-related call at all.
I remember you mentioning.
Yeah, and one of the house rules is that we're not supposed to do street drugs at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a contradiction, and that does bug me.
Yeah. Okay. And so I put down that basically you'd like a portable housing certificate and you'd like to become your own payee. And with a portable housing certificate, that would allow you to move elsewhere. You'd like to basically, it sounds like you want to move out of the MLK house.
Definitely. I'm not causing any problems. I don't have any real, I would say, problems with the people there. I have problems with, like Charlene. She gets kind of delusional sometimes, and she goes into these manic states, and she'll just start going off and talking. She's not very clean either. She doesn't bathe. She, sometimes Sarah had a problem with urinating on herself, walking around kind of delusional. It's not as bad with Charlene. Charlene also doesn't really ever shower or bathe, and she wears her clothes constantly. And so when she sits down in a chair or something like that, she'll leave a foul odor. And so if you sit down on that chair after she does, then, you'll end up smelling like her. And that's not something that you really want to have to deal with.
Okay. So in the section, the next question is, what services would you like from Berkeley Mental Health to help you? That would be that, in order, the types of services that you're requesting to become, in order to become your own payee and get a portable housing certificate, that would require case management. So that's what I'm going to put down, case management.
Case management is fine, but the main problem I had was that, at one point, I got sent to John George, and I got a Title IX California Code of Regulations piece of paperwork that stated that I did not meet the necessary criteria to be placed there. And one of the further parts of the sentences or require other professional healthcare services. So it's that's kind of a weird thing, is that I don't mind having a case manager, but it's if I come in for my, check, that's one thing, but that's all I come in here for, is just to get my check. I don't come in for grievances to be addressed. If I have a problem with the house and I talk about it, I come here and nothing really happens, and I'm given one piece of paperwork about, we're not supposed to be doing drugs, we're not supposed to harassing the other people, things like that. But when I come here and talk about that, and it's never really in a very confrontive or hostile manner, it's blown off, and it's not ever addressed as a grievance. And at the house meetings, same thing. And so it's I will definitely come in to have my case managed, but it's...
Well, the case management would be also doing the monthly visits with me to maintain your housing.
No problem.
And also allowing me to assist you in getting the portable housing certificate. But as far as you being hospitalized, I don't know. I wasn't your... I don't, and I'm sorry that you had that experience. It's not my intent to hospitalize you.
No problem there.
Unless, there are certain criteria that you have.
Yeah, danger to yourself or others or gravely disabled. And I went there and they said I wasn't, exhibiting, behavior or mental state that I guess expressed that. And so it's kind of a really weird thing to kind of be treated like a criminal, kind of. Because it's from my understanding, I'm not on probation. I don't have a prohibitive license of any type.
Well, going to the hospital is separate from going to jail. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong.
It is separate from going to jail. It completely is, because you get a probationary officer if you go to jail, and you're actually taken from a judge and you're indicted on charges.
And you've never been to jail?
Never.
Yeah.
So it's That's the whole thing, is I want to see where I stand and what I can do and what I cannot do. And if that's clearly written down and explained to me, then that's no problem. Okay, but if, like, say I'm communicating to a person, and that person doesn't really respect what I'm saying, and it's not that I'm being hostile or that I doubt that person's efficiency, in the title that they're holding or something like that, it's just more of I don't really want to deal with that. I don't really want to be an assistant where I'm treated like a criminal if I'm not a criminal.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. And that's something that I think as an agency we try to be mindful of. But I appreciate your feedback that you felt that way in the past.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I'm gonna put case management?
No problem.
Okay. Is there anything important, or what is important for for myself or your Berkeley mental health provider to know about you, your family, or your community? Example: race, culture, ethnicity, class, sexual orientation, disability, language, religion. It could be.
None of that's really important because you get to the Constitution, and like one of the primary parts of it is no person can deny us. No person or persons can deny another person their constitutional rights on the basis of race, color, creed, previous servitude, I think, and now mental illness, gender identity, or sexual orientation. So it's like one of those things to where it's not a big problem because I'm not pushing it out at people and making it a problem for them.
But it sounds like you'd like people to be respectful and mindful of your rights as an individual, not
Definitely.
to treat you as a criminal.
Definitely.
Should I put that down?
Yes, I'd say maybe that I'd prefer not to be disenfranchised by a system. That's all.
So the next section is on substance use. Do you use alcohol or other drugs?
Alcohol isn't really a drug.
And it says, do you use alcohol or
Other drugs? I drink occasionally, but it's not a problem.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm smoking marijuana or anything.
So it's not a problem.
No.
Okay. So then it asks me what problems if this is a result of this. I put down it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And then it says, how can Berkeley mental health providers help in these areas? I'm going to put down not NA for not applicable.
Yeah.
So the next section is about your strengths. What personal strengths do you possess that will help towards achieving your goals, and how can you support yourself?
I think tolerance, maturity, unless I'm being really mistreated or not allowed to take care of myself, I'd say cleanliness. That's been a real problem in that house right now, is that like a lot of the cleaning supplies we're not getting. So we don't have hand soap in the bathroom. We don't have paper towels in the towel dispensers.
Well, when I was at the house meeting, Ezra was going to follow up on getting those supplies.
Definitely, I would say that. But also another thing is that, like, for individuals to be clean, I mean, generally you would have to have like a certain level of cleanliness amongst your housing peers, and that's becoming a problem. Is that you have one or two people who really aren't mature enough to keep themselves, physically, to where it's not a danger to others.
So hygiene is important to you.
Very important.
So I have tolerance, maturity, cleanliness, hygiene. Anything else?
I guess I like to communicate. And unless I'm really pushed by, I'd say, immature people who don't communicate very well, then I'd never have a problem with communicating.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone's not communicative and, like, say, does things that might be, I would say, instigatory. So, like, if someone tries to instigate a negative response from a person with abusive behavior, over months or, like, years or something, that would be a problem for any person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been trying to avoid, is to be, not be abusive and to be as communicative as possible.
Okay. So I'm going to put down that under how can support networks also help?
Mm-hmm.
Probably communication.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Another strength that I noticed that you have, if you don't mind me sharing, is that you're very skilled when it comes to computers.
Yeah.
Would you say that can I include that as a strength?
Definitely.
Okay. And so, as far as this next page is at the actual care plan, and it sounds like what you'd like. Well, what I need. One thing I'm gonna, because I work with you in doing shelter plus care visits, is for you to maintain your housing, and I'm gonna put that as goal number one.
I met with Marge Curtis yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So I have to fill out paperwork, get a proof of income, turn in a copy of my ID. I have to do that after this. And then after that, I'm all done with her.
Okay.
So
an objective would be for you to continue to follow the shelter plus care regulations, rules and regulations, which you've been doing.
I mean, yeah, kind of. But it's like kind of there's that one thing I was saying that was a contradiction or problem is that, like, let's say you look at the rules and regulations, and you have people in the house that I'm living in that are definitely violating the rules.
Yeah, but I'm talking about you. You're not violating.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that's like one of those weird things that kind of causes you to not respect the rules. And I'm not saying that I'll break them. But when you're living in a house, and I am telling you that, like, these people do drugs a lot, and you just want to sit in your room and you don't want to have to smell that, that will drive you up the wall, having to smell, So it's like, yes, I will do that, but it's like on another level that's, kind of unfair to me to make me apply myself to the rules and then have 6 or 7 different people in the house that do not apply themselves to the rules. It becomes frustrating.
And then I was going to put down to get portable. What did I write down? A portable housing certificate.
Definitely.
Okay, and then also look for alternative housing. Maybe.
Like, let's say if I sat down with you and I found a bunch of sublease, like, say, rooms for rent and things like that, like through Craigslist or something, would that be a possibility beyond a voucher? Because it's like I've been promised this housing for a while, and I think I could just do one on my own someplace else. I have no problem with the sub-payee as long as I can take care of my bills and.
Well, there are 2 separate issues because one is that it would be really with the voucher, you only have to pay. I can't remember what you'd probably
a third of your income.
Yeah, a third of your income. Yeah. So if you were to go through Craigslist, you would have to pay
fair market share. Yeah. I mean, that's still a problem for me. It's just being in a house, like, say, where there's no drugs. Okay, and you're in the house and the people, like, they say, well, we demand of you that you're drug-free, that you're clean, and that you're not going to do anything that endangers us or causes our lives to be unstable. Like in that house, there's so many people that still, I buy food, I put in the refrigerator, and that was an issue for a while, is that when you have, like say $95 a week to buy food, and you buy food, you put it in there, and you come downstairs to make something, and you only have a certain amount of food, and it's not there, that's, what are you supposed to do then?
Yeah. And I remember, I think when we talked about that, I suggested that you label your food, which is something that some of us do here even.
I know. But it's just...
Don't you guys have fridges in your room?
We do, but I got... The last 2 ones I got were busted. So I don't have one in my room because of that. And so like the main refrigerator, that's the whole thing, is that like some of the rules and some of the things are... It's like you have people maybe that are alright, and then you have maybe like 1 or 2 people who do street drugs, steal, and by default break the rules. So it's...
But Ezra did say he was willing to get you a refrigerator. If you were to...
Yeah, but it takes up a lot of space in my room, and they're noisy, and they create a lot of heat. Okay. Inside they're very cool, but they have, on the back you have a little tank that holds the Freon, and there's an electrical setup. There's the radiator on the back. And so those 2 things cause a lot of noise, make it very moldy, which makes it somewhat unhealthy, and then it's never worked for me. So I prefer using the refrigerator. It's just, mainly I'm just asking for normality. So I don't mind the fact that some people talk to themselves, some people, they're delusional, things like that. It's just, on a base level, there's just the standards of living. Some things you can't really deal with.
I would bring that up in the next house meeting too, as a reminder to everybody.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me before too. It's disrespectful, and food costs money, and
Definitely.
Eat, right?
Yeah.
So what I can do, Armando, is once I'm going to follow up with the paperwork regarding the portable housing certificate. I can provide you with listings of either Section 8 or you're capable of going, if you choose to go on Craigslist, if you eventually become a payee and you want to go that route. But that would be something that I think that you would, I would have, I'd be happy to assist you in any way that I think you're capable of.
I mean, like, my last shared living experience, like, let's say, if I went down the list of them I've had, like, the Oaks Hotel was very bad. There were a lot of crack cocaine users there, and that was a lot of marijuana users. A very uncomfortable situation to live in. Lakehurst wasn't that bad because people couldn't get away with it in the hotel. But there were a lot of roaches, and it was very dirty. I lived with another consumer client named Marcel Walls. And the problem I had with him was the same thing. Wasn't very clean, did a lot of drugs. Tony Alcott told me to put the PG&E and the phone in my name. And so I had a bill because Marcel stopped paying his rent. I think he kidnapped somebody one time and I had to deal with that. So I stopped paying his rent. He ran up the PG&E on the phone. He didn't pay his half of it. And so I was left with like $1,000 in debt from that. Then he didn't pay rent. This was about 2 or 3 years ago. And it was one of the worst living situations I've had so far. Because for him, he kind of, he took joy in basically messing up my stuff, just messing with me all the time. He really wouldn't, like I said, pay his rent. He wouldn't pay his part of the bills. And so when he got evicted, because it was basically a sublease, shared housing, I guess, situation or contract, I couldn't find another person independent of the subpayee or what do you call it, Berkeley Mental Health, so that I could keep my housing. And so there was no way that I would be able to pay just a third of both parts of the rent and keep living there. So I got evicted because he didn't pay his rent. They couldn't find me a roommate in time. And so I ended up getting evicted, and I never got paid back for his half of the bills. And so that so far has been the worst living situation I've had.
Where was that at again?
That was on 61st and East International.
Did you have shelter plus care at that time?
I think I had Section 8.
Section 8, okay.
Yeah, it was OHA, I think. So.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah. But Tony told me he would, Tony Alcott told me he would arrange for him to pay me back, and he never did. And so when I occasionally see him, he kind of makes fun of me, he jokes about it, and that's...
Tony?
No, Tony, Marcel.
Oh, Marcel, okay.
And then, he was telling me that he got out on probation, and, that he became his own payee, and he moved to Emerville, and then he just kept taunting me and messing with me. And for me, that's another reason why I'm a little angry with the system, is that, when you have something like that happen, and then a person like that becomes their own payee and does things like that. And then he kind of, he had to brag to me that he was selling drugs to people in the house and things like that. And that, after a while, it'll mess with your head a little bit and make you a little bitter. And I try not to be, but that does kind of weigh on me when I have to think about that in relation to the rules that are being pressed to me and things that are being stated to me.
Yeah. So that goes on, it leads me to the second goal would be money management, when the objective would be for you to become your own payee.
Yeah, that's all.
And did you say have you attended the money management series workshop?
Is that a necessary requirement?
It's a recommended requirement.
Okay, because if you just say it's necessary, then I'll do it. If it's recommended, I can do it also. But if it's something, that in the open is binary, that'll help me more than I'd say.
It would definitely, if you were to attend the money management workshop,
okay.
I would think that a psychiatrist would be more inclined to approve you becoming your own payee.
Okay, no problem.
And there's a workshop going on right now, but I believe it's a
ongoing series of workshops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come anytime.
Okay, no problem.
Mondays at 1:30 to 3:30.
Where is it at?
Every Monday in the auditorium here.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So you do a binder and it's...
I got the binder already.
Oh, you have your binder? Okay, yeah, you can come anytime. Bring your binder or so you can work on it.
So yeah, is Carol Patterson still? Yeah, okay. So I think I have been in it.
Yeah, if you have the binder, you must have.
So yeah, Carol Patterson recommended it to me and I was in it, and I did go with it. So.
Yeah. To help keep track of your spending.
Yeah, no problem there.
Yes, and that's
yeah, and it'll help you get through the steps of becoming your own payee as well.
okay. So what I have here is for you to maintain your housing and money management. Those are the two goals.
No problem.
And under maintain housing, I have obtain a portable housing certificate and move out of the MLK house. And the service is case management, and I put down to follow up with my job will be to follow up with the paperwork that you need to fill out to obtain your portable housing certificate and get you on that.
Okay.
And then provide you with housing lists. And the frequency would be monthly or as needed.
So like, let's say if I got a portable housing certificate before I became my own payee, how would I handle food and utilities and things like that? That's just a hypothesis, or kind of thing.
Before you became your own payee?
Yeah, let's. Like, how would that work for taking care of my bills and things like that?
It would still be under, we would still pay your bills for you.
Okay, I have no problem with that. I'm just saying, like,
That
let's
would be
say,
cool.
like, for food or something.
Like, I'm not sure if that.
Like, let's say, like, if I wanted to cook more than I do now, or I wanted to eat better, if I became, would more money be available to me, or would you go shopping with me so I could get more food so it would be easier to survive?
If you needed more, we would review your budget, and if you needed more money, I would definitely, I could give you more money for food shopping. I want you to have enough food to eat.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I need to go shopping with you. I think
No,
you're
no.
capable of doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then under money, and then I have the other objective would be to comply with the shelter plus care rules and regulations,
Mm-hmm.
and that services case management, and
Mm-hmm.
the check-ins that you're doing with me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then under the second goal, money management, I have A, to become your own payee,
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, in order for you to become your own payee, you would attend the money management workshop series, and then eventually I could follow up with a psychiatrist
Mm-hmm.
and advocate that you become your own payee.
Mm-hmm.
If they,
Because I don't think I'm seeing a psychiatrist right now, and that was one of the things I stated that I really didn't need to do.
yeah, and you don't have to see a psychiatrist
Okay.
for a psychiatrist to sign off on that.
Okay.
I mean, he might want to, or he or she might want to meet with you and evaluate you, but it wouldn't be. The psychiatrist has the authority to determine whether or not.
No
That's my
problem there.
understanding.
Yeah, no problem there.
Okay. So,
like, let's say, like, if I didn't need medication, but they still need to check me out for, like, say, I guess, evaluate or do intake to see if I was gravely disabled or a danger to myself or others.
well, they would be evaluating you to see whether or not you were able to manage your money.
So, yes, but I mean, the psychiatrist basically, from my understanding, prescribes medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a therapist, you discuss how you're feeling, your emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you talk to a therapist and the therapist finds that you would need like something to help with like psychosis or dementia or something like that, right, then you need to, that's just my understanding from experiencing from within, then you would need a psychiatrist. So, like that's what I'm not understanding here.
Well, I'll follow up on this, but it's been, in the past, it's the doctor that has the final authority
Mhm.
as to whether or not you're capable of becoming your own payee.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would work in collaboration. I would
Mhm.
work, the doctor might ask my thoughts, but it would be up to the doctor.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Okay. And, and if you were to go to this money management workshop series and continue to, I see no reason why you couldn't become your own payee, especially, I don't want to say that, it's going to happen, but I can definitely advocate for that to happen.
Okay, no problem. I'd definitely like to, at some point, talk with, like, maybe, because I went through a series of things, like, I think it was Dan Ezekiel was the first housing coordinator or counselor or whatever that I talked to about this stuff. And I went through some pretty negative stuff with him, and he didn't really listen to me, and he was one of the first people that told me that it was transitional housing, it was only supposed to be there for 1 year, and then I would get my certificate. And then after that, he told me, he never said that, no one ever said that, and then it became a problem. And there were people that, they said that we were on a list, and that there were a number of people that moved in, so depending on when you moved in, that would be when they would get your certificate. Like in turn. So I moved in, I think then Brian moved in, then Ahora moved in, then Joel, And then, let's see, after Joel was Sarah, then Sarah and Blaine at the same time about. And then I think Ron moved in more recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Charlene moved in, I think, before Sarah and Blaine. So, and I think when we got to a certain point, right before me, Jeremy was right before me, then Jeremy said he didn't want the certificate. And then from there, it skipped me, it went to, Neil got his first, then Ahura got hers. And so I've been there, like I said, 3 years,
Yeah.
you know, after
Yeah.
it was originally stated.
Yeah, and I don't know why that hasn't been, maybe it must have fallen through the cracks, so I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
And so, there's one other question on the care plan. It says, would you like to discuss your diagnosis with your birth and mental health provider? And it's just a yes or no.
I guess so, but it's like one of those things, like, let's say if you got, like I got the Title IX,
Mm-hmm.
right, and the Title IX kind of retarded that in a way. And so it's like if you need to do more intake to reassess that or reevaluate it, or if, like, I say something and based on my previous diagnosis before the Title IX, you don't take that into account and you, like, retard it or disregard it on the basis of that. That's the thing. It's like what I was saying about communication. But if you would like to, there's no problem there.
So you're concerned that we would make a decision based on something that or
That was previously stated before it was retarded by the paperwork, which I don't know if you guys have taken into account or not.
well, this question is valid, whether or not you would like to discuss your diagnosis with your Berkeley mental health provider.
Yes, and I was just saying the diagnosis was basically retarded, meaning like reversed
Reversed.
or retarded. Like when you say retard or like retrograde, like retrograde means go against. So retard also means.
So you mean if you were to, you mean to be undiagnosed?
Yes, that's what I was saying. It's like the way it was previously stated was kind of contradicted.
I'm not familiar with the Title IX.
It's a Title IX California Code of Regulations. I might have it on me. So you're not familiar with what it is at all?
No, I can look it up though.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I'm not, I don't know. I'd have to.
Is that a start for money you want, like getting services?
No, what it does is it kind of states like, so if like, say a psychiatrist or a doctor, someone with 5150s, you know, puts in John George for a specific reason, for payment, like say, they say, no, we're not going to pay because this person did not meet the necessary criteria for what your professional health care services provider. So that was, I think, Yvette and Dr. Jones. So what they stated was retarded by the piece of paperwork.
You mean when you were discharged? You mean
When I was discharged about a couple of weeks later.
Previous
Yeah.
Okay.
Who ended up having to pay that?
Not me. So I'll never have to pay for that one.
So the state sends in someone else.
So it's,
5150 to you,
yeah, it was them.
and it wasn't voluntary.
No, and so it was against my will. So legally, it went against them. So they may have to pay, or the city of Berkeley may have to pay. So, but I won't ever be held financially accountable for it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's on it. If you actually look at it, there are 2 boxes that can be filled out.
But it's because you weren't actually, they made a mistake because you weren't actually, it wasn't medically necessary that you were.
Not at all. So.
Okay. But if it was, if you were a harm to yourself and they needed you in there, then it would have been your responsibility.
Yes, it would have been, legally it would have been my fault. I would have been at fault, but I legally am not at fault for that, so.
I'm all about focusing on the present no longer. I'm not going to do something that was done in the past. And, I mean, I do take in, I will, I do take into account you know, we do coordinate as a team,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I would take into account, you know, somebody else's, you know, feedback, like if you were to be evaluated by a psychiatrist as to whether or not you're able to be your own payee,
Yeah.
you know, I would, you know, but I mean, I'm really all about keeping an open mind and focusing on the here and now and how you're doing right now.
Definitely.
So, so I don't know if, and I'll have to look into this Title IX because I'm really not very familiar. I'm not familiar with it at all.
It's like, it'll help you guys out a lot if you look at the code of regulations, because it's like clear cut what you guys can and cannot do,
Mm-hmm.
and what I can and cannot do. It's like just for the state of California. So you have the Constitution, that's the highest priority for our rights. You have constitutional rights, civil rights, human rights. Most people have all three. Once you go into due process and you become a felon, you lose your ability to vote, and you lose the ability, I think, to, in some cases, get Social Security and health care and own and operate a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you're thrown into John George, whenever you get out, you're given a prohibition to own and operate a firearm for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's something you can contest it. You can get an appeal,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're ever found not to be at fault because of what happened, then it doesn't exist. So, like, because of what happened, even though I'm not going to, like, legally, I still have that right. And it's not something I ever want to do, but it's like I can vote, I can get Social Security, and if I go through all the necessary steps and, like, say, go in for a firearms safety course. And if I ever got one, I took it in, registered it, things like that, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to, because it's, not me.
Yeah.
So, then below that you have civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things like the right to express yourself, the right to be like a Catholic, a Mormon, the right to, say you're black, you're Native American, anything like that, to be yourself. The right to exist, basically. And then below that you have human rights, which are like common rights.
Mm-hmm.
And that means on the street no one has the right to harass you, punch you, things like that. Try to hurt you, poison you, mess with your stuff. And those are the 3 levels. So the code of regulations, that's below the constitutional. You have constitutional, then you have state constitution. Below state constitution you have the code of regulations for the state. And it's pretty good. And you have federal, I think, code of regulations. It's like the United States Code.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for things like pornography, drugs, alcohol, things like that. It's like state is below that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for us, we have the state constitution, and then we have the code of regulations for the state. So we have the California Code of Regulations. And so if you look at the Title IX, California Code of Regulations, that will help you guys out a lot.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
So I'm going to circle yes, that you are open to discussing the diagnosis.
Definitely, definitely.
So if you could take a look at this, and if I could get you to sign here if you're in agreement with this.
Mm-hmm. Can I use the board so I don't have anything to relay? Thank you very much. I can. That's pretty cool. So you just want me to sign now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like what I stated, so happy with that. Let's do the 30th, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
So we're good.
Thank you.
I will follow up on the affordable housing and the next money management meeting is Monday. As usual, Friday, as stated. And 133. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah, stuffy head. Gotta go home and take an ibuprofen and some antibiotics and drink some water.
Well, you know how that goes. Take care of yourself. It's
I
good
will.
to see you again.
No problem. Have a good day, both of you.
You too.
Okay.
Hey, Wanda.
Yeah. Bye. Have a good day. Not much. Can you ride a bike with that? Can you ride a bike with your hurt leg?
Yeah, I was walking and working on it for a week before I went ahead and the doctor. I had 2 broken bones.
Really? Was it a compound or like a hairline?
It was a 300-pound disc fell on me.
That's it. Me too.
Somebody fight, people and walking.
There are a lot of fish swimming all around. Fish, 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 swimming all around.
Yeah, Ying is pretty good. Ooh. Oh yeah, man. I got 2 left, but here you go.
All right, thank you.